In this podcast, let's talk about faith. Very often, we used to consider faith and religion as the same notion. In reality, there is a big difference. For us, religion is a set of rules, of tradition, maybe even a dogma. But for faith, the first thing to know is, in fact, the absolute trust. We don't need evidence in faith. We don't need something like tradition. Why? Because faith comes from the source. When you believe in someone or even in something, you are a believer when you don't need evidence. If you need evidences, it means that you need a proof. But if you need a proof, you are using something like a criteria of Popper, and in fact, you are in the field of science. This problem is in fact deeper because it works in reality only in mathematics, because even physics can in fact find only counterexamples, but not the proof. There is a proof of the consistency or the coherence of a model, but not the proof of its reality. So the notion of proof is really related to mathematics. So when you need that, in fact, you are thinking that you can put the problem of faith inside mathematics? No, obviously, no. So the idea is, when you have proofs, you don't need to believe. It's obvious. So the problem is what you should do when you don't have proofs. Of course, you have the notion of conjecture because you think that something should be like this or like that, but you don't know, and you can remain at this level. In religion, in Christianity, or in Buddhism, the notion of faith is more specific and quite different. There is an evolution of this notion, at least in the field of religions, but we are talking about the core of the faith, the idea of a belief which is independent of any other contact. So there is something like a link and not only a relation, but certainly not a contact. But you still believe in that there is something which is connected. with you. You are connected with Him. And at this level, the notion of faith is in fact independent of the notion of religion. So there is no structure, there is no something which is restricted to rules. If you need rules, it is because you need tradition. But if you are really thinking about that, you are going to understand that you need faith before. If you have only tradition to believe, you will stay at the level of the traditions, nothing more. So you will be traditional, but not a believer. A believer is something else. As I told you before, the belief comes from the source. You believe in the source, and nothing else matters. So if your belief or your love is related to the source, you are free.